June 9th. Hello, everybody. Today's June 9th, and today we're doing business and social media. This is going to be a very long section, so get a snack now. This is your warning.
Woo! This week, Computex is over. That was last week. So many things announced last week. It was pretty crazy.
And the first we'll talk about in the hardware news section are some new gaming laptops that are being offered. Both of the big companies have given us new mobile processors to be excited about.
AMD Radeon RX 6800M rips benchmarks in a powerful all-AMD ASUS gaming laptop. Woo! 6800 mobile? What? It's benchmarking pretty darn good. They get a software update as well. Fidelity effects, super resolution.
Don't know about availability.
Yeah. It's probably going to be mining Ethereum.
If you can't find one of those, maybe you can find one of these because Intel has their own offering.
Intel's latest 11th gen processor brings 5 GHz speeds to thin and light laptops, along with a new 5G modem for laptops. So the new 5G modem is, they partnered with somebody else, and it's a MediaTek silicon. I really didn't think it was anything to write home about. But you know what's weird? In Intel's presentation, they didn't say anything about their new NUCs, which have full-size GPU slots, which are actually pretty cool. But they didn't say anything about that in the keynote. Wow.
The big feature that they're touting here seems to be the boost. It can boost up to 3 gigahertz.
5 gigahertz.
But that's on top of the...
the base clock. Yeah.
So yeah, it gets over 5 in some cases.
It's over 9,000.
Not for long. But it is a laptop, so... Yeah.
Fleeting moments.
But that's not what you all want, right? What you all want is this. What everybody wants are these.
Graphics cards.
And we will not get them. It hurts to look at.
Nobody really wanted this, actually, but it's fine. The monstrous GeForce RTX 3080 Ti is Nvidia's new gaming flagship, which no one would want to buy this if they could buy the 3080 non-Ti at its roughly $700 supposed to be street price.
So this is basically the 3090...
$800
with some of the memory removed, but everything else is still the base of that, so it can still be as fast.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they are flooding the warehouses as we speak. There's going to be way too many of them.
Best Buy had a few, and there were people waiting overnight to get them, and a few people did.
Were they selling them for retail?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that might be worth it. The hot new crypto is Chia. I have not gotten into that, but it's totally different. They have changed the game with Chia because now we are actually proving how much we can store, not how much we can process. And how is that going to change the world? Well, Seagate isn't sure, but they're getting ready for it.
Seagate exploring a possible new line of crypto-specific hard drives. Seagate could be set to foray into the crypto space. Sabrent already has crypto-specific SSDs, specifically for Chia, which is exciting. This article didn't mention that.
Great. Another thing that can be sold out because of cryptocurrency. That's exactly what we need.
The thing with Chia is that it's pretty quick to know if you have the block somewhere in your storage array, and it will wait on you for up to 30 seconds to fetch a value from that. So your hard drives could be off and asleep and in a low power mode, and they could spin up and then fetch the block of data and then spin down. The thing that it uses the SSD for is the initial generation. So once it's generated and stored on the hard drive, you don't even really need the SSD anymore.
Just make a giant RAM disk.
Yeah.
Keep it all on that.
Yeah, I was not encouraged when I filled an 8 terabyte hard drive and it was like estimated time to first coin 57 years, and I was like,
You'll spend it one day.
That much.
Yeah.
They always correct our pronunciation of this. Xiaomi, I think is what.
Xiaomi.
We usually use more of a Z, and we are corrected for that, so I think it's Xiaomi. Anyway, they have an exciting new wireless charging technology.
Xiaomi shows off a phone that can charge to 100% in 8 minutes. It totally will not catch on fire, we promise.
I think people will be a little bit skeptical of a Chinese product with that much power. But that's 50% in 3 minutes. I mean, you could get out the door and have enough to go through the rest of your day.
Yeah.
If you're really lazy about charging your phone, this should excite you.
It can also do wireless charging, and I think it was over 100 watts wireless charging as well, so that's pretty incredible.
Yes, very impressive. And Huawei have been busy. If you'll recall, they were unceremoniously tossed out of the Android ecosystem. They were not allowed to connect to the App Store or do anything with it anymore because they're probably in league with the Chinese government. And so what did they do? They said, all right, we're doing our own. And that was how long ago? About a year?
Oh,
Year and
it's
a half?
almost 2.
Yeah. It's taken them this long, but finally, we get to see it.
Huawei's HarmonyOS arrives with an iPad-inspired tablet UI and an apparent Android base. So 9 to 5 Google has sort of figured out, it's like, hey, from the screenshots and the interface here, this looks like Android has just been rethemed to look like an iPhone.
Kirsty, what do you think about these screenshots?
They look fine.
They are definitely reminiscent of Android.
I
Sure.
don't see anything here that I'm like, wow, that's totally groundbreaking. Like, this looks exactly fine.
The thing is, like, where most user interface design is, and I think, Krista, correct me if I'm wrong on this, is that, like, designers can design stuff that, like, looks good in a screenshot like this, but the secret for phones is, like, the interactive part of it and, like, how it behaves and, like, when you move and click and drag.
Yeah, like how it animates and stuff, and like how will it react if you have really, really long text and that kind of thing.
Yeah, nobody ever plans for that because it's always a disaster whenever we have to deal with that. Because it's like, it's
or
gonna
other
be-
languages,
Yeah.
if they have really long words.
Or even things like Adobe XD, where the color space isn't even things people use on the web because Adobe is an awful, awful company.
Now, they say that this is not a mobile operating system. This is an everything operating system. They say that you can use this, from your desktop to your toaster, and it will be great for all those things. And you can move app sessions between any of those devices seamlessly.
Oh, that's funny. That's something I've been waiting on forever, and they won't do it because they're stupid.
Well, just give up your data to the Communist Party, and you can have that.
Easy.
So we'll see if people are excited about that. Now, as you can see, that little slider that I did there while Krista was talking, the Google people are maybe pointing out a little borrowing.
Just a little.
These are the same picture. They're the same.
The icons were smaller.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing I was going to comment on, Krista, too, is like, have you noticed that, like, as the screens get bigger and higher resolution, the spacing between stuff gets to be more, and it's like, again, Krista, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems pretty lazy of designers to do that to make it look quote-unquote cleaner, and I really like Huawei making everything smaller so that it's more useful.
I actually have the exact opposite
Fat
opinion.
finger.
Yeah, like you have to have things that are minimum 40 pixels for your finger to be able to touch it easily.
Well,
And when you start putting things real close together, it gets harder for your finger to hit it.
that's what the Huawei thing looks like. It looks like it's that 40 pixel minimum, but like some of the stuff on the Google side looks like Fisher Price because it's like 200 pixels tall.
Spotify just shrank everything in their desktop UI. And on the Surface Touch, and I'm not running in tablet mode, I'm just in regular mode, that's infuriating.
Yeah, I personally, I mean, it doesn't need to be massive, but I prefer it to be larger, generally. Also, because I'm blind, I can't see. So,
I know that.
so larger fonts are always better for me. But
Well, we got a new supercomputer, and it seems like every time we get a new supercomputer, it has to be the best. It's like Trump is building all the supercomputers. it's the best supercomputer.
huge.
Yeah, it is pretty huge. And it's got a lot of GPUs. Boy, I wish I had some of these GPUs.
Researchers switch on the world's fastest AI supercomputer. It has 6,000 Nvidia A100 GPUs and delivers 4 exaflops of mixed precision performance to help the NERSC Advanced Science Data Center.
Perlmutter. What a name.
Perlmutter.
It's from Hewlett-Packard Enterprise.
So they're going to use it for scientific medical research type of thing and to map the universe. That'd be nice. We need a map for that.
I want to know what happened with that AI that could calculate the distance and location of stuff in space faster than the actual algorithm to do it. Because it discovered something, and we need to figure out what it discovered because it was good.
It might be bad.
Yeah,
Could be the filter. They might have discovered the filter. Well, the M1 iPads are out there, and people are excited about those. There are 2 configuration options when it comes to RAM. You can get the 8 gig or the 16 gig. 16 gig is very expensive. But developers have begun looking at this, and they have some bad news about that 16 gigs of memory.
Apple reportedly limited the maximum amount of RAM that an app can use to 5 gigabytes in the iPadOS. even with the 16 gig M1 iPad Pro. So you can have multiple 5 gig apps, but each app can only use up to 5 gigs. And they cited Krista, one of your programs.
Yeah, Procreate was big in exposing this. Because they needed that, and they said that when they tried to allocate more than that, they simply crashed.
Yeah, Procreate, it will limit how many layers you can work on after a certain amount. And if you get anywhere kind of close to that limit for your document, it will dramatically slow down and sometimes crash.
But you could double that limit if Apple would just let you. Do you think
they just don't care?
Do they not want to share because the experience might worsen for the actual
Probably.
rest of the iPad?
Probably.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
I don't have the new one, but I've noticed that on old versions of Procreate as well.
Over at Google didn't have any hot releases this week to talk about. They have a bad headline.
Yeah.
And it's similar to a lot of their previous bad headlines because they tend to put people in power who become controversial. I don't know how they're going to fix
Without
this.
doing their homework.
Yeah, this one, it sucks that we're in a world where you have to go back and comb through everybody's history. But I think you kind of do.
Google diversity head removed over anti-Semitic blog post. And it was from several years ago.
2007, but the quote is kind of
I read the whole context too, because I read it and I was like, that's got to be out of context. And I read it, and it is kind of out of context, but still way out of line.
But the narrative matches that now.
Yeah.
Like, the narrative is very pro-Palestine. And so this guy said something about, well, here we go. Do we want to read this? Probably not.
No, I don't think we do.
If I were a minority being referenced here that I'm not going to say, I would be concerned about my insatiable appetite for war and killing in defense of myself. So this goes back to, like, wouldn't this guy, as an American, be just as responsible for everything George Bush did if a random Israeli was responsible for what Netanyahu did? I mean, that's the wrong fight to fight right here.
Yeah.
So,
well, the other thing I thought was strange from this article, he mentions he emails all his Jewish staff to tell them, like, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, did that come up? Like, do they have, like, a log of that somewhere? Like, these are all our Jewish staff members?
He had to use the Facebook ad things.
Yeah.
Find out what's supposed to be.
It's like, oh, that's not a good look either. Like, that you have a catalog of all your Jewish employees.
Why do you have a list?
Yeah.
That did not end badly the last time there was a list.
But I will say, there is a weird situation where you're not allowed to talk about the housing developments and stuff like that.
Yeah, or the evolution of land area over time since the 1950s.
Yeah. So you have to know better than to do this. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that you have to be aware of your surroundings. Like, if you were in a room full of lions, you would behave differently. And they don't care about your rights. And the tech companies are exactly like those lions.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind when you're doing possibly racist tweets.
I saw a really good hypothetical on Twitter also, which was if the American Revolution were happening now, would the big tech companies be on the side of America or the British?
British, because the British have more money.
Yeah, but
until the French got involved, and then they'd be pro,
I was just gonna say they'd probably be trying to make backdoor deals with the Dutch.
Yeah,
like they would just to play a wild card there.
Yeah. And so, like, if you follow that all to the conclusion, it seems like the money in politics has to be eliminated, and we have to go back to, like, what is in the people's best interest.
Good luck with that.
Yeah,
I don't think that's ever going to happen, unfortunately.
You could sooner put the genie back in the bottle.
What you're talking about is fertilizing the tree of liberty. I don't want to live through that. Do you?
I don't know.
No, I'm happy where I'm at. That's the sad thing about it.
That's how that's what they're counting on. But yeah,
and
they're right.
If you find that stressful, Krista, do you find that stressful?
Yes.
And how do you deal with that?
I take walks out in my yard, and now I've started canning.
Is that it?
Is that what they call it now?
No.
Is that a new way to do this? Well, if you're an Amazon worker, there's a new option for you to push out the dread and forget the darkness.
Krista had
Amazon will stop testing job seekers for marijuana and now backs legalizing weed.
Woo!
How many people have they tested that's like almost all our warehouse workers are positive for this? We can't get rid of them though.
I have a feeling that that is absolutely the catalyst here.
Yes.
They are desperately, because we have a huge labor shortage right now, and they can't staff without it. I know that some local Eastern Kentucky grocery stores, they did this for meth. For meth.
Oh.
Yeah. Just a little, just on the weekends.
Well, I was going to say, in my mind at least, having known users of both, I feel like someone who's on pot can, at least get themselves together to go to a job. I don't know if you can say that about someone on meth.
Oh, what are you talking about? A meth user will empty one of those trucks by themselves in like 20 minutes. It's what happens after that's bad.
Yeah, well, see, if you're passed out for hours, are you gonna go to your job though?
Probably not eventually. But Amazon is getting behind the whole legalization thing, and they're playing that whole minority card. And they're getting on the bandwagon. That's all that is. And they're trying to make sure they have a bunch of workers.
Yeah.
Oh, and anything that has to do with driving, you still can't do that, which is a good idea.
I'm still waiting for Amazon to purchase Corrections Corporation of America, and then we can get our first jailhouse Amazon warehouse.
That already exists.
I'm sure that already works.
It's called Unicore.
Yeah.
Look up Unicore. Read about Unicore. Whew. That is modern slavery. Crystal, we want to remove this one because we already did it in the last episode.
Oh, no. You removed it completely?
Removed it entirely.
Oh, okay. I thought you said moved.
Because we talked about the industrial athletes already.
Yeah.
Now, Amazon, like most companies, if you buy a car today, you will have to agree to this, which is disgusting.
Yeah.
Really makes me angry. But if you say no, they're just like, all right, we'll see you later. And a lot of companies have gotten on board with this. One amazing lawyer figured it out and beat them at their own game, and now they have to walk this back. This is a beautiful story.
Amazon faced 75,000 arbitration demands. Now it says, all right, you know what? We're not going to participate in the arbitration thing. Just go ahead and sue us.
So the rule with arbitration is you can't sue them. You have to go to this little fake kangaroo court thing that they almost exclusively control. But the catch is they have to pay for your filings. So this guy filed 75,000 different demands. Now, what did it say? It cost them like $2,000 a piece.
Yeah.
So they were like, well, okay, you know what? Let's go to court. We're not doing that anymore. Genius. This is a story that we've certainly seen before, and it's interesting because we've seen several stories where the U.S. was like, all right, we've taken care of this. We've fixed the tax code. We don't have to worry about this anymore. And yet, year after year,
Microsoft's Irish subsidiary paid zero corporation tax on $220 billion in profit. Microsoft Round Island 1 is a tax resident in Bermuda with no employees except directors. So what they kept going back to in this was like, okay, you paid dividends to investors, but the company reported no profit. But you paid dividends to investors. What's the definition of a dividend again?
Yeah, that's what's left over.
So can you explain us? And they were like, Bermuda. The Bermuda Triangle. We don't know.
And Ireland.
You
got to have Ireland in there. Now, this is mostly revenue coming from all the international product keys that they're selling. A lot of money.
$220 billion. $250 billion, if you prefer.
When you scroll through this article, they have a picture just to really rub it in of Bill Gates' 66,000 square foot main home, valued at $130 million.
Our version of The Guardian has mysteriously crashed, so.
Oh.
I wonder if
there was also a PDF of the lawsuit in there.
I wonder if there's been a time in Bill Gates' life when he walked into a room that he hadn't been in years, and it's like, oh, there was a roof leak in here that I hadn't noticed, and it's gotten very bad.
Nah, there's a team.
They sweep the house.
Takes care of it.
Yeah, he's like a dragon. He knows every part of his hoard. And if someone comes in there and just takes like a speck of dust off of a statue, he knows. It's like Smaug.
Somebody comes in and picks up like a priceless teacup, and he just sits bolt upright in bed. Release the robots.
I have to go. I was gonna say Melinda, like like he was yelling Melinda, but she's not there anymore.
He slams on the emergency button, like breaks the glass and hits the button.
And all the shutters come down.
And a copy of Mark Zuckerberg just bursts out of the closet, starts attacking things.
We should do a web comic.
The original model. Unleash the original model.
We'll put its homicidal tendencies toward good use.
Well, the election debate rages on. We don't hear as much about it, but it's still happening in, what is it, Arizona and one other state.
They finished one of the audits and didn't find anything super irregular.
So, but there's still constantly, like, I see headlines all the time of them like, no, we can't allow them to do this. And then it's like, you must allow us. And it's just...
There have been a few things that came out of the audit, though, that was like, that would definitely raise an eyebrow at the time, but in retrospect is like, okay, that probably wasn't anything horrible. But at the same time, it's like, but you lied about it then. Why did you lie about it then? That doesn't, like... Well, it doesn't rise to the level of things you would lie about if this was some grand conspiracy, but you did.
The answer is they lie about everything.
Yeah.
And they were keeping things open in case they had to cheat. If they didn't cheat, I'm sure. But what you have to do something about it, right? Because 2022 is coming up. It's coming on us fast, and we have to try to solve this because there's going to be a midterm election. And it's going to be really important because...
Yeah, this Bloomberg article did not ask the right questions.
Yeah, so it's the balance of power in like the Senate and stuff and the governors. It's very important. We need to fix this before then. We don't have much time. What do we do? I don't think the answer is to hand the reins over to Microsoft. That seems wrong to me.
Microsoft and Hart partnered to give voters a chance to track their vote. Wait a minute. What?
They say it's completely anonymous, but what do we know about data?
What do we know about anonymous data?
Doesn't stay that way for long. So you're going to get a QR code that's printed after you vote, and then you're going to go to your house and you're going to wait, and when you scan that QR code, it's going to tell you where your vote is in the counting pipeline.
And before that system gets ransomware.
Or Huawei.
I mean,
Yeah.
that seems like if it's just tracking your vote and not what it is, it seems like
just if it's been counted or not.
Yeah. It seems like it would be easy to change what it is at
And
the
not
start.
solve the problem at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know those machines have that capacity.
Yeah, I mean, even just a simple touchscreen miscalibration, which is, I think, almost completely innocent malfunction. It's like the touchscreen is miscalibrated. We can fix that. Maybe somebody touches something and doesn't notice that the screen reacts to the wrong thing. They voted some way that they didn't intend to, and
But you could also solve that by adding buttons. Like we should do in cars.
like it had been since the dawn of time until recently.
Well, we have a date for an exciting new event. I'm sure that this will be almost completely bug-free when it launches.
We should do a special with Krista, Level 1 special on like the new Windows design.
Krista, we're doing it. Mark your calendar.
24-hour live stream.
You think it'll take that long?
Microsoft to unveil new version of Windows on June 24. 24 hours on the 24th. No.
We do not
Yeah.
know that much about it. They're not calling it Windows 10. It's going to be something new. And we've seen a couple of leaked previews of what it might look like. But so far, they've done a pretty good job keeping it hushed.
If we follow the idiocracy trend, eventually it's going to be something like Windows Happy.
Or just an emoji.
Yeah.
It's the Windows, but it's twisted into a smile.
The operating system formerly known as Windows.
When you get an error message, it's just like the turd emoji. No actual error message. It's just like, oh, okay, turd emoji.
It is basically that way already with the frowny face.
And one thing we know about Bill Gates is he probably would have been a lot better off not meddling in the medical industry. It definitely backfired on him.
Might still be up one wife.
But I don't think he wanted to be. But he also might be up $1 billion that he's now lost. But that's not the only one he's in. He's in a lot of industries. He throws that money around and he wields a lot of power.
Bill Gates' next generation nuclear reactor to be built in Wyoming. His company's participating in it. Actually, Warren Buffett is going to be the one who owns it. It's a micro reactor that uses a more advanced nuclear fuel, but produces way less waste And so it should be a lot more difficult to weaponize the nuclear waste. And so it might be good for a clean energy future, maybe, possibly.
This is the molten salt style of reactor, where it stores some of that energy by just melting salt, keeping it warm. It's like on your crock pot, the keep warm setting, except it's really
exactly the same.
It'll take a while to build that. We will not see power out of it. And also, this is a proof of concept version, so it's not going to be a massive power output. This is just like, prove it works. That's going to cost $1 billion.
I was somewhere once that had an underground flywheel as a backup power source, and I was like, that is ridiculous. There's no way that is it could possibly be a viable power source. Just a big, heavy concrete wheel underground. There's no way. And it turns out that a flywheel or something like that can store an obscene amount of energy, and it will just run and run and run and run.
What about the wear and tear, though?
Like, it's just like if you do it right, there's hardly any wear at all because it's in like an argon gas kind of thing. So it just spins because there's no load on it most of the time. So it just spins and spins and spins.
I doubt that could be scaled up to municipal power.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But it's like molten salt in that it stores an obscene amount of energy. You don't realize it, and then it's like, wow, this will just run forever and ever and ever.
I don't know. I think if I was standing next to a flywheel and standing next to molten salt, I would feel much stronger about the energy coming from the molten salt.
I don't know.
Well, here's a blast from the past, and I think we might have predicted, and we could still be right, but we're probably wrong in predicting that this would never actually come to pass.
Yeah.
Because they have set a date, and they've also set some pricing.
Atari VCS console finally launches on June 15th with an eye-popping price tag. Seems like it's a one-of-a-kind price tag.
So this is basically just an all-in-one computer with their version of some probably half-assed operating system and what they call a vault, which is either a partition or a completely separate ROM chip that has all the ROMs on it. So your like classic Atari games are separate from all the operating system and stuff. They say that you can install Linux if you want, because it is basically just a little computer. For how much?
Thousands of dollars.
$400.
What? I thought it was $1,400.
No.
That would be truly crazy.
The 400's still pretty high.
Yeah, they point out that that's the price for a PlayStation 5.
Oh, okay.
So
The
you're
new
getting
Xbox is $299.
and this thing, I mean, in terms of horsepower, is not much. It's that AMD
System
R
chips
something.
into, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it can run those Atari ROMs, but so can a Raspberry Pi.
R5, R1600G. So first gen Zen. That's got to be like the industrial waste at this point. Sorry.
Certainly not worth $400.
No.
The comments disagree on this article. They're all like, dude, it's totally worth it. I've already pre-ordered one. There's a market for everything, I guess.
They hired those people. Atari hired those people.
I don't know if you could reuse the controllers on other stuff, although the stick Atari controller is not particularly comfortable.
I think you only get the stick with the special edition. It's like the throwback edition. Normally you would get that little
I mean, half the game was how horrible the controller was.
you get this thing. Yeah, that was a terrible idea for a controller. One button. That worked for Pitfall. Here's maybe a little bit of good news, although it's somewhat removed from the chips that we want, I guess, but a light at the end of the tunnel, perhaps.
GM lifts forecast as chip shortages ease and the stock hits a record high. So GM is saying, hey, production is improving. We're getting more vehicles out the door. We figured out how to make vehicles without chips again.
I guess that's good. I don't know.
We'll see.
Maybe that will lighten the load on some of the other stuff, but I think they were like almost last in line because they had really cheap chips that they wanted.
Yeah.
And then they were like,
Yeah.
you know what? We'll make way more money ignoring you.
Yeah.
We've talked about this fellow before, and this court case has been going on for quite some time. I hate to see this, but you have to admit he was pretty blatant in what he did. It's hard to defend him.
ROMsite owner made $30,000 a year and now owes Nintendo $2.1 million. The judge did take it pretty easy on him. The judge didn't really make him pay a lot for the box art and stuff like that because Nintendo was trying to take him to task for $35,000 per violation for the box art. The judge was not having it. The judge did charge, I guess, based on wanting him to not do anything like this in the future, although he's not specifically enjoined from doing anything like this in the future. He just has to pay for the ROMs that people downloaded from the site, basically.
They'll never pay. He'll never pay, and they don't expect him to. This case creates a really easy way to do this again if they need to.
Yeah.
So, and this is not just old ROMs. This guy was putting Switch ROMs up too. I think that's what pushed them over the edge.
Yeah.
Like, you want to do Mario Brothers, then okay, but once you go into the Breath of the Wild.
I think Nintendo was still shutting them down for everything, not just even the old stuff.
Yeah, but not trying to destroy them in court like this.
Mm.
Although, I mean, ultimately they probably would have.
Yeah.
When it comes to trying to stay anonymous on the internet, if you've watched this program forever, you might have concluded that it's nearly impossible. And that's sadly kind of true. But one of the tools that still kind of worked, we did learn about those exit nodes that were fingerprinting you and stealing your cryptocurrency. So that's something to watch out for. But Tor did a pretty good job of anonymity. And this proves that they were doing a really good job with it because somebody got a phone call.
PayPal shuts down a longtime Tor supporter with no recourse. So this was a guy who was using his PayPal account to pay for nodes that were used as part of the Tor network. And the hosting providers and stuff like that had no problem with it. And the guy hasn't had any complaints from PayPal. The EFF investigated. And PayPal just said, we don't want to do business with you anymore. So despite no complaints, and they won't give him a reason, and the only thing the EFF can conclude is, this has something to do with this guy supporting cryptocurrency, or supporting Tor and the stuff that goes, Tor projects that end up giving support to the network, I guess is how you would say that. And PayPal does not want to participate in that.
So what PayPal does, instead of contact him and say, hey, you need to leave our service, they locked his account. So he cannot escalate this. He cannot get a human being on the phone. All of his money that was still in the account is locked for 180 days to cover refunds that might come through, even though he's not a seller of anything. And at the end of that 180 days, he can get his money and then he's done. He's never going to use PayPal again.
It's horrifying.
Yeah. Imagine if you were a business getting locked out of your funds for 180 days.
What's crazy is there are certain rules that PayPal has to obey handling money, but they have to obey less rules than a bank. They have to obey less rules than like Western Union, the money transfer service. They have to obey less rules. They somehow evade. They're in the superposition of not handling money and handling money, so that they have the least amount of rules that they have to follow, and they'll behave really egregiously as a result.
And they're not going to talk to him. He's just done.
Even with the EFF involved, they were just like, "Yeah, we're done."
He's canceled. And when it comes to money, of course, the smart thing to do with your money is to find companies that have no value and no future value and invest as heavily as you can into them, because that's how we're doing it these days.
AMC is giving free popcorn away to meme stonk investors. Brr. It's pretty funny.
How do they know? Do you have to bring something in?
Yeah, show them your Fidelity account or whatever.
So they point out that GameStop played this the opposite way. GameStop said nothing ever about the meme stocks. They just sat back and enjoyed the ride and did what they could. And AMC is saying, no, we're getting on top of this. Now, a lot of people are saying this could be maybe a little securities fraud. Are we giving them something for investing?
It's popcorn. I mean, I do think that GameStop handled this way better, because not only has GameStop not said anything, they're actually like trying to figure out how they can pivot into something that like modern gamers care about. Like maybe we could sell GPUs, or maybe we could do whatever. And they
it's
bought
a great time to get into that market.
Yeah, they bought ThinkGeek. So ThinkGeek that's been a while ago. So they might be able to become like the hot topic of gamer stuff instead of emo stuff.
They got to get into digital
Yeah.
So that's the only way that you're going to survive in the gaming world.
Yeah. So they're versus the AMC. The AMC guy sold 11 million shares of their company without telling anybody, which is like, and then he's done other really just kind of not smart things. I feel like they need to put somebody in charge of AMC that can maybe not.
But they canceled something like $600 million in debt.
Yeah.
They erased a huge part of the pandemic with the meme stonks. So
Yeah.
like from a fiduciary duty to the company standpoint, he's doing exactly what he should be doing. Not for the investor.
Not for the investor.
Somebody's going to get caught holding that bag.
Yeah.
It's going to be a heavy bag.
The short people, I think, lost $5 billion just yesterday alone.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's standing in front of a steamroller or picking up pennies in front of a steamroller is what they call that. You deserve what you got there. And a website that if you work in this field, you might be ashamed of it, but you're gonna use it.
Are we gonna work?
You're there.
Are we gonna work on the replacement site next week? Because we could build a replacement site. Because it's gonna end badly.
I don't know. Are they smart enough to leave it alone?
No, they want to make their 1.8 billion back.
The previous owner was Chinese, so I guess this is good from like a security standpoint, maybe.
The Wall Street Journal reports that Stack Overflow has been sold to tech giant Prosus for 1.8 billion. Now, the original owner was Joel Spolsky, I think, or one of the owners, because the Fogbugs guy, he's got some pretty good books. And then I guess it ended up with a Chinese company, and now it's going to Prosus. I don't know.
We'll see how they change it. Don't make me register.
I just want to read the answers. I want to copy the code and then just paste it, see if it works, tweak it, and then never come back.
Don't make me write a competing site. That would be bad.
Just to do this.
Uber and Lyft are still in this bitter battle to, are they workers? Are they not workers? They don't want them to be.
I like this.
And a lot of people have really maligned them. They say they charge too much. The drivers don't get enough. The drivers don't get treated correctly. How do you fix it? And yes, I agree. This is the only way.
Yes.
But we must pray that whoever started this has the morals to not fall into that trap when it comes there, because there's going to be a fork in the road.
Yep.
We'll see.
New York Times reports a worker-owned cooperative tries to compete with Uber and Lyft. About 2,500 drivers in New York are organizing to create what they say is a better deal for drivers than what the ride-hailing giants offer. Listen, angel investors and those of you in the audience that are independently wealthy as a result of meme stocks or whatever, this is what we need. Like, we need projects like this for the betterment of the future of mankind.
But if you get involved in this, remember what Uber did. Remember Uber when
Uber is still doing
when they used that the gray, what do they call it? Gray something?
It wasn't gray key. It was like to track people
to fake them out.
Yeah,
like they would create a fake Lyft and just see who showed up and be like, all right, let's write that down. And they were trying to like track what their drivers are doing versus their own drivers. So the underhanded stuff will start happening to you if you play this game.
Oh crap! There was something else that was really funny. Oh yeah. It's kind of a game of hot potato because originally investors invested a bunch of money in Lyft, or Uber, and then Uber went public, and now the public's holding that bag, and the investors got their money back. But there's no, as Cory Doctorow says, there's no pony under that mountain of crap. So somebody's going to get caught holding that, like the meme stocks.
But there's a very good chance that Uber and Lyft themselves would give you a huge chunk of money.
Yeah,
just to buy this up. Yeah. So you could sell out that way. I don't know if that would be.
We must not.
Good or bad. I don't know.
That's not. If it truly is an employee co-op, then all of the people participating will benefit from that monetarily.
I guess. Yeah. But then they'd be out of a job.
Yeah. Well, for the right amount of money, maybe that doesn't matter.
That'd have to be a lot. Now, we've been following the IRC thing that's been going on, the Freenode thing. Someone owned the domain, and it's really messy, and they're just fighting about it. And when this kind of thing happens, a lot of people, kind of like the Stallman thing, a lot of people are just like, all right, we're out.
Yeah.
We're not dealing with this.
Ubuntu is announcing their move to Libera Chat because Freenode. Just FYI. Let you know.
They will not be the last. That thing is going to die quickly. And it probably should. They have said, Twitter has said that they're moving on to social media. Twitter has said they are rolling this out to their power users. Have you gotten an invitation?
No.
You're not a power user.
Probably not.
How many tweets a day do you tweet?
Probably an average of like 2.
I think they need hundreds
Yeah.
to get you onto this list.
Not doing it. Oh, what's the headline? Twitter debuts subscriptions to super users and new something.
Push for monetization.
Ah, okay.
New
They're
revenue
trying-
push.
Yeah, they're trying to get something other than ad revenue here. So this gives you the ability to undo a tweet for some amount of time, and it gives you more dashboard controls and stuff like that for your massive over tweeting that you're doing every day.
Oh, yeah, one of the features was like when you post, you can post a story as a series of like 10 or 15 tweets. They give you better controls for that.
Seems like that would be the kind of thing that everybody could benefit from.
Mm-hmm.
All the users.
Yeah, well, when you're reading it, you get the benefit, but when you're writing it, it's a little cumbersome and annoying.
$2.99 a month. So it is cheap, but do you
It's another subscription service.
Yeah, I've gone through and shaken all the fleas off of my subscription.
It really does add up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
And Twitter is also making some changes this time for everybody. I don't know. I feel like this just dumbs down our communication even further.
Yep.
We don't need this.
Twitter could be working on Facebook-style reactions. They include sad and cheer.
Because that does encompass my entire range of emotion. Sad or cheer.
It's idiocracy.
They have a picture in this article as well. They're horrible. They use hearts for 3 of these. They should use different emojis.
Oh, yeah. Why would
That's
they
awful.
do that?
What? Listen, Facebook's garbage, but they do this right, where each of the different reactions is a different emoji. So, like, they have an angry one that's like a little red face pouting.
Wait a
And
minute.
The crying one is like sad.
Why is sad heart? Look,
That's a
sad
good
is
question,
heart.
right?
'Cause
Yeah.
you're commiserating with them. It's like, I'm
It should
sad.
at least be a blue heart. Like,
That makes no sense.
What's the emoji for hug?
is there a hug emoji? I bet there is.
Right now, it's the skull and crossbones.
Hug emoji. Hang on, I'm looking at. There's a site called Emojipedia.
Well, while
There is a hug one, but he's just kind of like putting his little hands up.
Oh, it's just like someone like welcoming a hug? Oh,
Yeah, it looks like it.
yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
I guess if you put the other person in the hug without their permission,
Yes.
that could be bad.
Yeah.
Well, in the emoji, then it gets too small, like in comparison to the other emojis. But
How long before we get somebody that's mad about an unsolicited hug emoji?
What would that be?
I don't know. Remember?
Krista, that's your challenge. Unsolicited hug emoji.
unsolicited hug emoji.
I guess the person would just like have their arms down like that and then turn their head. Like, or you know what? There's at least 100 different Joe Biden pictures.
Well, there was that controversy about like somebody was responding to somebody else on a mailing list with like star hug star, and they were like, "No, we don't go for that."
Yeah, that was one of those Linux ones.
Yeah.
But that turned out to be a lot creepier
Yeah.
when you read it.
Yeah.
Well, on the scale of 0 to Joe Biden creepy, like where are we on the? Are we like Joe Biden breath in the ear creepy, or Joe Biden dead eye stare creepy?
I think Joe Biden and Linux forum guys are right on the same wavelength. He's just older.
You gotta wonder what force of evolution has triggered that kind of reaction in both of us. Like, what was happening on planet Earth that it was a strong enough force to be, to become part of the evolutionary component?
I think I'm a dead end because I don't have the drive to breed.
Yeah.
So I think we're the problem.
Yeah.
We're not designed to be doing this nonsense. We're designed to make more of ourselves and cover the earth like a plague.
Yeah.
Fight the robot. Now, do you recall last week when we talked about anonymized medical data going to Google?
Yes.
This headline makes that seem more alarming, doesn't it?
It does. How Big Pharma finds 6 users on Facebook. We found drug ads targeted at users interested in everything from bourbon to therapy.
Now, the word awareness. Charities have been using the word awareness against us for decades. Because awareness is like, oh, we're going to take your money and we're going to do cancer awareness, which means we're going to throw a big party and spend all your money on these like beautiful things and eye sculptures and celebrity endorsements and stuff like that, and not cancer research. And Facebook, in a very similar way here, is using your desire for awareness to target what's wrong with you. So the flag isn't Krista has cancer. It's that Krista is interested in cancer awareness.
I'm pretty sure that the cancer awareness thing also gets triggered if you message somebody just being like, hey, so-and-so has cancer. It's like, oh, you're interested in that.
Technically true, right?
Yeah.
You are aware of it. So you can buy that as one of the things that, you know how they used to be able to target races and stuff until they got in trouble? Well, that's going to have to happen with this.
What you need to be mentally picturing is Mark Zuckerberg with like those half-rimmed glasses on his face, sitting in like a chaise lounge in the corner while you're talking to your friend at all times. So anytime you bring it up Facebook to like talk to your friend or whatever, you just look over in the corner and it's like, wait, is that Mark Zuckerberg with a clipboard making notes about our conversation?
You tell your friend something like really profound about, like a terrible medical condition that you have, and you hear him turn his drink over. Oh,
you can hear the scribbling from across the room.
that's good.
I wonder if this is a thing in Europe, because I know here in the United States, like at least for television, we can advertise drugs on TV, but that's not a thing in the EU. They don't allow that. So I wonder if they have that same sort of rule with drug ads on social media.
I think they covered that, and the answer is no. And you would also be illegal if you were targeting them with absolute information, but because of the whole awareness thing, it's okay. And it's funny, they have in the Facebook tagging system, they have a different tag for regular diabetes awareness and type 2 diabetes awareness. Because, of course, those camps never get together.
Never. They're mortal enemies.
It's terrifying. I've been secretly prepping for this my whole life by never going to doctors.
They have only misinformation in the file.
Now, it's interesting because, like we said, the narrative about what's happening in the Middle East and the old Gaza Strip is morphing. It kind of used to be that, at least in the U.S., everybody just defended Israel. And we had the whole anti-terror thing, and the lines were clearly drawn. But that's changing, and certain companies are having a tough time with it. They are not sure exactly what to do here.
NBC News reports that Facebook battles reputation crisis in the Middle East. Users are feeling that they are being censored and getting limited distribution and ultimately silenced, one Facebook senior software engineer said. So yeah, when you post something controversial on social media, which is in your unique situation is happening in your backyard, basically, they're like, let's not talk about this.
So during that little war that they had, as you can imagine, when buildings start blowing up in your neighborhood, you go to Twitter. You're like, oh, hey, did a building blow up in anybody else's neighborhood? Because I'm experiencing that. And Facebook just started blanket removing those.
Have you tried turning it on and off again?
The excuse they gave was, we thought it was spam because everybody started doing it all at once. Because the rockets would hit all at once. So, it seems like the people of the Middle East are waking up to that whole thing and switching to other. They said that, I think Instagram was the least trusted.
Yeah. Wonder why.
And this is another article about the same kind of thing, but here we are talking specifically about activism. And I guess MSN, I assume, treats like Hamas as not activists, right?
Yeah.
They would be participants, combatants versus activists. So this is more about the people who are not, in the tunnels.
Yeah, the Washington Post, MSN.com reports this, which is originally from the Washington Post, but Facebook's AI treats Palestinian activists like it treats American black activists. It blocks them. And so this is just more of the same, where you can see the kind of, like, it's easy to see what they intend to do, but the consequences of doing it badly sort of ends badly if you need to be aware of this kind of thing happening.
And you're taking a political stance.
Yeah.
As soon as you step in and make any kind of decision here, you're taking a political stance.
Yeah.
And even if it is a source that has been known to take a side in this conflict, you can still get news from them, and they're not allowing that to happen. Have you seen the video where the girl is in the office building and she's a reporter, and she's like she's wearing the helmet, she's doing the reporting, and all of a sudden it's just like boom, and she flies across the room, and they got it live on the live feed when that happened.
Wow.
Yeah, some crazy stuff came out of that little conflict. And in India, if you recall, they basically just set a deadline. They said, you will do what we say. You will follow these rules. And remember how crazy those rules were?
Don't talk about the cow urine.
Yeah, absolutely. That was number one. And if you don't do these things, and if you don't give us a person in your organization that you define as the person who's responsible for these, you're out. And every big tech company lined up. They did exactly what they were told.
Facebook, WhatsApp, Google, and other internet giants comply with India's IT rules. So now they've got there's a red phone basically on Modi's desk. Well, several red phones, I guess, one for each company. And so he can pick up Facebook's red phone and make demands of Twitter now.
And they have, I think it was 24 hours, right? If you don't remove it, what he wants you to remove in 24 hours, then you're in violation of these new laws. I think it's a pretty big daily fine until you do it. So that'll be good. It'll be good for the cows. Facebook upheld the old Trump ban, and if you recall, the Facebook Supreme Court group, they said, we're going to keep this ban in place, but you can no longer just leave this up to us. You must change you have to define your policies. And they kind of have, I guess.
Facebook to end special treatment for politicians after Trump ban. Going forward, politicians will be treated like everyone else. I have, something is going to happen, and this is not going to happen.
This is a pretty good illustration here. That's terrifying. We are kind of living in that world. So yeah, they still have the exception if it's something incredibly newsworthy. But otherwise, if a politician says something that was outside of their terms of service, they will still act upon it as if they were a regular user. I'm sure that they will apply this right down the middle of the political divide.
Yeah,
it'll be completely objective.
Yeah. Looking forward to that. TikTok is it's so hot with the young people, and I am completely it's a blind spot that it's always going to be there for me. I've accepted that.
Oh no, I missed this one.
I will never be cool enough to go to a flash mob birthday party.
A viral TikTok video brought chaos to Huntington Beach, and officials fear it's just the beginning.
So hilariously, this young man, it was what was his name? Adrian or something like that. Yeah, Adrian's Kickback. So Adrian was turning 17. And he was going to have a beach birthday party. And he wanted people to come and see it. And I guess his video was really well made or something. TikTok picked it up in the trending feature. And after some amount of time, it became obvious that Adrian had lost control of the birthday party.
Well, there was 175 people arrested.
They were climbing the palm trees and throwing stuff and fighting. And as you can imagine, just rabid TikTokers descended on a location. You know who didn't go to the birthday party? Adrian. He was terrified by the time it got there.
Oh.
Oops.
He will live in infamy.
I wonder if he got arrested.
No, he wasn't there. And he didn't, he wasn't calling for people to come to his birthday party. He was just kind of doing a fun birthday party announcement. TikTok, the algorithm, picked it up. And people flew to this.
Wow.
I don't get it.
17 is such a boring birthday, too.
They blamed that, the lockdown, I guess. People were just so hyped to do something. God.
That's scary.
Imagine I bet there was 4 porta potties there or less. Because they weren't expecting this. There was no infrastructure here.
This is the TikTok.
Yeah, people probably just crapping in the street.
In the sand. Yeah, I bet that sand is just
that's
filled.
like a litter box.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the TikTok that brought us the TikTok of the person turning over the porta potty with some other person inside it.
There was a lot of really nasty things people started doing to each other. Yeah. The mob really just turns quickly. It's terrifying. And TikTok, in some other news, also negative because they have changed their terms of service. This one might be more nasty than the WhatsApp one.
Yeah.
TikTok just gave itself permission to collect biometric data on U.S. users, including face prints and voice prints.
Ugh.
And this is probably going to get less resistance than the whole WhatsApp change, which they walked back again.
Yeah, and if you read the fine print, I mean, it's pretty wide open here.
Yeah.
You can do pretty much anything they want. And remember, from the cheese article we did, was it last week or the week before? If your hand is in a picture, the resolution is high enough these days, they can pull your prints off that.
I can't
Oh,
wait
look
for
at my hands.
somebody to be framed somewhere else because of something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Deep fake fingerprints coming soon. And I thought this was the Russian guy at first. I didn't realize there was another one of these.
Yeah.
Boy, they are just landing planes all over the place in the former Soviet Union, aren't they?
Yeah. YouTube said it took down ads featuring Belarus hostage videos. So what happened was, like, the stories that we covered and more, they forced planes down and the journalists off of them and blah, blah, blah. People that have been critical of Russia or talked about the Alexei thing where the political opponent, stuff that we covered. The guy that got poisoned and went to Germany and then had to go back to jail because he had the audacity to fly to Germany to get medical treatment. They arrested those people and then made videos where it's pretty obvious that all of those people were tortured or coerced into saying, "Oh, I did something bad."
You can almost see the gun barrel off the front.
Yeah.
And and they were paying to run them as ads on YouTube, which is pretty disgusting, pretty monstrous. And it was like, oh, okay, we figured that out and we've stopped the ads.
I bet it was effective though.
Yeah.
If you're living in Ukraine and you see that and you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be a dissident anymore.
Yeah.
We should get in line because they're not playing around here. Back in, it was probably like 2019, I guess they started this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe before that, but people were outraged and they went onto social media and they were like, this is ridiculous. I'm coming to the US to work for Google or whatever, and they're requiring me to give over not just my accounts, my passwords. They want my passwords for social media. I wonder how multi-factor affects that.
That'd be funny.
Do they require?
It probably stops them from immediately siphoning your stuff, but then they just pick up the phone and call Twitter and be like, hey, this user, send us all our stuff.
Yeah, it could be.
Two-factor doesn't matter then.
But it is outrageous that, they would have the ability to reach that far into your life just for, I guess, security concerns. And Trump's administration took a lot of flack for that. Well, meet the new boss.
Biden administration continues to defend the social media registration requirement in court. Don't forget the student that came over and was not permitted entry because his friend said something.
Oh yeah, his friend was in Hamas.
Yeah,
he had not even his friend. They couldn't prove that it was his friend. Just someone he followed on Twitter. Yeah, I forgot about that. That was crazy.
Seems like a bit of a stretch.
So a lot of people, obviously, Biden's cabinet and everything is much more liberal to this kind of thing. And they're saying, well, wait a minute. Aren't we getting rid of this? This seems kind of like an obvious one. And the White House is saying, we like this. We're keeping it.
Yeah, but this gives us control, and we like that.
Yeah. And finally, if you are a Twitch streamer and you thought that you had survived their version of the adpocalypse, or I guess the content apocalypse, don't think so. You might be thinking too soon.
Twitch warns streamers of another wave of copyright strikes that are coming. The company sent a notice on Friday, and they're basically just delete your old VODs. You don't need them. It can only hurt you.
Kind of true. All right, Krista, we're at 58 minutes.
Good Lord.
Wow.
Please give us a 1-minute garden update.
1 minute garden update. I have put out 4 tomato plants. I have purple Cherokee, 2 Romas, and
Purple
1 cherry.
Cherokee? That's
That's
racist.
the name of the tomato.
Oh, you
Someone
can't
in the
grow
forum
those, Krista.
recommended it to me, so
You
I
can't
bought
grow
one
those,
this year.
Krista. No, you have to
It's too
throw
late.
those
It's already
away.
out there. I've got basil planted in that bed too, and then I've got 2 red pepper plants. And the pumpkins are getting very large, like the green parts. I don't have any blossoms yet, but soon, hopefully. My apples are also blossoming. Like my new apples, I've got some blossoms on them, and I'm like, that's kind of early, because they're just like little sticks so far. But
What about the May apples?
I checked the May apples yesterday. It was not good. There was a deer in the yard the other day, which we were really excited about, until I realized that little bastard ate all the May apples out of my forest area. So I like checked all the ones that I knew had flowers on them like a month ago, because I went out and took pictures, and I was like, okay, I'll just go back to those same spots. One of them had a very obvious like bite mark out of it, so I think a deer got it. So I won't get to try one.
Engagement challenge. Please name the deer who's stealing the May apples.
There's a picture of him on my Twitter. He's an intruder, and he's at large. I think it's actually a girl, but anyway, are we at 60 exactly now?
I gave you an extra 30 seconds there, Chris.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you should be so happy. All right, we'll see you Friday.